Hey, Eric.
Hey, Chris.
Have you ever been to patreon.com/retroam?
On my computer or my web browser or my telephone?
Yeah, or you could probably go there on like your refrigerator nowadays. Does your refrigerator have a browser?
No.
No, neither does mine. But I'm sure there are some out there that do. If you go there and give us $5, you can get access to our mini-series.
Series that are just like what we do here, but smaller for more compact games such as Parasite Eve, Terra Enigma, Star Ocean, Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yes, and speaking of those, I'm going to give you the title of one of our old episodes, and you're going to guess which series it's from.
Okay, yeah.
For this fun opening game here. Ready? Reinstall Colonialism.
Got to be Terra Enigma.
It's Terra Enigma. Great job. Congratulations, Terra Enigma. Yes.
That had the most linked societies to the overarching story, whereas everyone else was just operating independently in villages.
I feel like every game since we've covered Terra Enigma is chasing Terra Enigma, even though it may have came out before Terra Enigma. I feel like every game, in terms of its town systems and its the connectedness of the villages and the villagers and their various stories, everything is chasing Terra Enigma. Terra Enigma had the most beautiful town exploration kind of stuff that we ever got out of this podcast. Would you like to hear some hot sounds that I have recorded?
You mean hot sounds I recorded?
Welcome to Retrograde Amnesia, a comprehensive podcast where we discuss classic Japanese role-playing games chapter by chapter, beat by beat. Welcome back to Season 6. We're covering Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. My name is Chris. Hi. I'm joined today on this fine rainy evening by Eric. Hi, Eric.
The War of the Lions, please.
The War of the Lions?
Yeah, there's a the in there.
The's there?
I swear to God.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess they're only... Okay, fine. We're also joined by the RealNet, a collective of patrons who are listening to us record live on a secret video feed at patreon.com/retroam.
We're also joined by the Fake Net, our post-production AI companion, who was always disappointed that Dune on Sega CD wasn't an action game.
Initializing Fake Net.
If I had been able to take direct action, the Butlerian Jihad would not have happened like it did.
Wow, what was it?
Real-time strategy, proto-RTS type thing. Dune 2 is like the more landmark version
I was
of what that
say,
is.
The Westwood Studios Dune 2 is like one of the... That's not just a landmark Dune game, it's a landmark RTS.
Yeah, but this one had like Lynch movie clips intercut with it, like Kyle MacLachlan's on the cover.
Wow. Is Kyle MacLachlan drinking coffee in any of the imagery?
I don't think so, but he is doing spice, which could be a substitute for coffee.
Yeah, what is coffee if not a spice?
It is, literally. It's the same thing.
Indeed. So, Eric, we had a banger of an episode, and I'm talking about sausage, last time when we discussed all the introductory and background information about Final Fantasy Tactics, and now we are ready to get into both video games simultaneously. How would you like to approach this?
You're going to do the PS1 or the PSP first? How about PS1, so that's first in my notes.
Okay, we're going to turn the PS1 on?
Yep.
All right, turn it on. Press the goddamn power button.
The Squaresoft logo flies across the screen, and then music opening plays. White text on screen. A warrior takes sword in hand, clasping a gem to his heart. A sword scoots by in the background, and then more text. Engraving vanishing memories into the sword. Now zodiac symbols are visible.
How many times did you have to write that down?
Engraving vanishing memories?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, Chris.
No.
Zodiac symbols now appear in the background, etched into stones, also in the background. More text. He places finely honed skills into the stone. Now a spear floats by. Text continues. Spoken from the sword, handed down from the stone. Chris, this is all nonsense, but we must press on.
Yes.
Now the story can be told. Final Fantasy Tactics title screen.
Yes.
Is this a case of it not being localized and the words were rendered and could not be undone in English?
That's possible. It also, you get a quick Square presents the Zodiac Brave story.
Oh, of course.
As well in there during that visual symphony of crests and swords.
I know they went back and forth.
Things, yeah.
Was it Square or Squaresoft?
Square.
Fascinating.
Square presents, yeah. Did you know those were zodiac symbols when you first saw them?
Yeah,
Okay. You've dabbled in astrology?
I'm trying to remember which video game taught me zodiac symbols, but it wasn't Persona because that taught me what tarot cards were, so I don't know what it was, but I only know about them from video games.
Well, it is interesting that this game uses zodiac symbols to kind of write the laws of the land in terms of its systems, because the Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre games before it, directed by Mitsuno, used tarot cards.
Like before this, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'd kind of hoped that astrology was something that only poisoned American minds, and I was depressed to know that it's a world-over phenomenon.
Is it really?
We're playing a Japanese game with zodiac symbols.
Well, I don't think. Well, you don't know for a fact that Mitsuno is like reads his thing in the paper every day.
All right, watch this. FakeNet, what's Mitsuno's deal with astrology?
Initializing FakeNet.
I cannot say with specificity. However, Japanese Buddhist astrology and astral magic, or at least the Chinese zodiac calendar, were introduced in Japan around the 4th century.
How about that?
Oh, in my opinion, he just needed another
fucking idea.
a system, another kind of morality system. Because the way he did it in Tactics Ogre is that the tarot cards will be drawn by like some fucking seer, then they would ask you questions, and based on your answers to those questions would determine your character stats. It doesn't go that deep in this, but there are zodiac things in the game that will unlock.
This game is fascinated with zodiac symbols and compatibility and whatnot.
Yeah. And I don't know about other people who have nostalgia for Final Fantasy Tactics, but the song that just played was called Opening, I believe, right?
It is also called Prologue Movie.
Was like I couldn't, before we got into this, I couldn't really place any of the songs because they feel more background than the traditional Final Fantasy song. But this song immediately evoked all of my nostalgia. That little piano ditty at the beginning really
got you back into
got me back there, yeah.
Well, Chris, if we're playing a PSP, that PSP boot up sound comes on. Then we see the Square Enix logo, because now Enix is literally in the picture. Then the circular, zodiac-laden Ivalice Alliance logo. Music, bland logo, title black plays. And we see a desaturated, cloudy night sky with a crescent moon. We see familiar and yet slightly different text. Sword in hand, a warrior clutches stone to breast. In sword etched, he his fading memories. So this is kind of a case of it being grammatically correct, but unfamiliar to my American tongue.
Yeah. We're already dipping into the weird, what is it? You wouldn't call it Old English. You would call it Old Modern English, I think is what you would call it.
Highly stylized.
Yes.
How do we feel about engraving vanishing memories replaced with in sword etched he his fading memories? Which one of those is easier for you to understand as a human being?
Actually, now that you mention it, I think maybe the first one.
Yeah. I have a clearer picture of what that means. Next, zodiac tree branches explode like fireworks in the background, and we get more text. In stone, he tempered his skill. By sword attested, by stone revealed. Their tale can now be told. Square Enix presents the Zodiac Brave story. Logo, Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions.
Wow. Great. So now we're at the title screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you see?
I see the logo and a new game, continue, and options, I believe, right?
Oh, man. I have one more option.
Yeah?
It's called tutorial.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I take that back. Well, yeah, the PS1 version also has tutorial as well.
In the tutorial, Master Darlavon appears. He tells me, wars are fought with wits and wisdom. Learn all you can to prepare for what lies ahead. I do the party screen tutorial, and it takes 30 minutes to do all of it. I then tried the battle tutorial in 3 different versions of PPSSPP emulator, and Darvalon's dialogue box is empty every time. Fuck it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most of the tutorials here are quite good and necessary, but I don't think you should do them before you play the game.
Well, I didn't, but the reason why his dialogue boxes were blank is because of the mod I had installed to make the game better, which I would uninstall very shortly here.
Uninstall mod.
Anyway, I gave up on doing all of them when I realized there were 46 lessons alone in MISC menu, so I hit him with a new game instead, Chris.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Now, before I hit new game, we can let the title screen idle for a little bit and get another secret, semi-secret
Attract mode?
Attract mode.
Attract mode.
Opening cutscene. Would you like me to go through that?
Of course.
Okay. We have another sort of collage or symphony of images that sprawl across the screen. Maps, clouds, sketches of war things like, broken stone walls and flags and whatnot.
Shattering eggs of dreams.
Yeah, then we get some narration here. Well, text narration. It says, "The kingdom of Ivalice, forever guarded by the twin-headed lions and by the sun that shines upon them. A year after the defeat of the 50-year war, the war was defeated. After the defeat of the war is what it says. I don't know.
Of course. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yes. The king had died from a terminal illness earlier, and the prince who succeed him, was only 2 years old. This meant his guardian would actually reign in his stead as king.
Standard rules of monarchy, right?
Yeah. Then we get an image of Prince Larg on the screen, who is let's call him a bowl cutman.
Like upsetting bowl cut, like 90s and I'm skateboarding bowl cut?
No, a little bit more like the bowl cut of an acolyte or a monk.
Oh, monk. Okay,
Yeah.
that kind of bowl cut.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But he's got like a Helmer robe on.
Indistinct part. It's not parted right down the center.
Yes. And when I say Helmer robe, I mean like he's got the robe that you would have on if you were a senator in a space empire. So he's on the screen now. Narration continues. The queen's elder brother, Larg, was designated as a guardian, but fearing an oppressive reign from the queen, the parliament ousted the potential prince, appointing instead the king's cousin, Prince Gultana, as the guardian. Then we get an image of Gultana, a guy who looks like he eats a lot of turkey legs. He's got that kind of get down, right?
Yeah, double fist and turkey legs.
Yeah, he's got a fur cloak, long gray stash. He fades away and we see more maps, this time of all of Eagleace's on screen. Gultana and Larg both fade back in and are slowly separated by a rotating, glowing sword, as if they are separated by, I don't know,
Blades.
war and tactics, representing the impending divide between the two factions in this war of succession, you might say. Narration continues. Prince Gultana and Prince Larg are both respected generals who proved themselves in the 50-Year War. A black lion crest then appears in front of Gultana. Shortly after, an opposing white lion crest appears in front of Larg, thus setting the stage of history of who this game thinks is right and who this game thinks is wrong. Right? Black lion's bad, white lion's good, right?
Probably not.
That's for us to find out. Let's find out in this deep political story about both sides' case plays. No. Narration continues. Prince Gultana had the support of the powerful nobles, but disenfranchised nobles and knights clearly supported Prince Larg. Powerful nobles versus disenfranchised nobles and knights. Who are you taking?
Disenfranchised have more of a chip on their shoulders,
Yeah.
so I would definitely think they would hold more power and kind of drive, like they wanted more.
Yeah.
What does disenfranchised mean in this context? Like fucked out of a job?
I think unheard. They've lost their power. Usually when we use the term disenfranchised in modern contexts, it usually has to do with voting, but I think in this case, it's lack of political power. Clouds then swell up in the background. As they fade, we see two opposing flags, both donning the respective lion crests. This is the beginning of what will later be known as the Lion War, it says. Flames emerge, covering the flags. A slow fade loops us back to the original intro.
You know, between this and the prologue provided in the manuals and the prologue that I'm about to tell you about War of the Lions, I think less would have been more.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because this is almost the exact same stuff that we read from the manual last time. And I do believe that, and I think this holds true with almost any story that has like a deep political lore, it works a lot better when you have a little bit more context from like your character's perspective.
Yeah.
And I think like the one time that this kind of stuff feels good and necessary is when it is presented in a way that like you're not necessarily digesting every little tidbit of it, but it sets the stage and makes things feel important. Like the Star Wars crawl, or even the Xenogears intro, that was full of proper nouns and bullshit. But for some reason, the way that was delivered on a black screen with that music made that information feel a little bit more important. But when it comes through in a CG screen like this, and we don't have much context yet, I don't think it works as well.
I just long for the days of both Xenogears and Xenosaga where the opening cutscene had almost nothing to do with the game for the first 40 hours.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, that's all I got. You can also idle for a little bit longer and get another like a track mode screen in this. I didn't write down every detail of that one, but it goes through and showcases all of the job classes.
Well, that's nice. That's actually a proper track mode.
Yeah, which it's pretty cool looking, but I think it's not worth going through because we're going to go through the job classes as we kind of naturally unlock them and whatnot.
If you say so, I'm just going to night the whole way, see what happens.
Okay.
Well, I hit with a new game, Chris, and I get a prologue. Music character making plays. We see a light shining against a stone wall along with some text. And you let me know, like, do you mean to go through what my version happens and then you'll see if it's identical or?
Yeah, I'll chime in, but thus far, things are unfolding in the same way. We get that beam of light cutting through that darkness, and then I don't know if it's a stone wall or it's parchment paper. It's hard to tell. Like there's some sort of texture we're looking at that's being revealed by light.
Text. I am, how are we saying this? Arazalam? Arazalam?
Don't ask me how we're saying it. Ask me how we're spelling it.
Arazlam.
Okay, I don't have any R's.
Okay.
So I have
Aslam? Assman.
Elazlam. So what was yours again?
Arazalam.
Eraslam is much easier to say, so let's just go with Eraslam.
Okay, that may be an L and R confusion thing again.
Yes, Eraslam is currently narrating this game.
I'm Eraslam, student of Evilus's middle age. You are familiar with the War of the Lions, no? It was a bitter war of succession that rent the land of Evilus in two.
Ooh, I like the word rent as
pretty good. It's separation.
That's a past tense of rend, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. In my version, it said it divided Evilis, so I like rent better.
Full of flourishes.
Yes.
Here we first find mention of Delita Herile.
Yeah, Delita is how I've always said it. I think that's correct.
I don't know if any other interpretation is possible.
I don't get Delita's last name in the PS1 version, but I do get a mention of a young hero named Delita.
Here we first find mention of Delita Herile, a hitherto unknown young man.
Oh, hitherto. Hitherto is a word we discovered, I think, during Xenogears. Hitherto.
Yeah, they've added a 4 to hitherto.
One of our Xenogears episodes is titled Hitherto Presentiment. Because I think it was probably Saito Mizuki that used the term hitherto to like do some sort of, rocking chair narration type stuff.
It's Richard's legacy, Chris. A hitherto unknown young man, the hero who would draw the curtain on this dark act of our history. His is a heroism of great renown, a story familiar to all who dwell within our land. But what the eye sees is oftentimes a mere fragment of the truth. There was another young man, the youngest of House Belv? One syllable?
I have B.
One syllable for 7 letters?
Belv.
Belv.
Ramza Belv.
Okay,
Beleve.
Dude.
Beleve.
Beleve is different from Belv. Beleve is what we're going with? So let's ask the fake net right now, then on future episodes we'll just do that.
Fake net, help.
Initializing fake net.
I just told you. It's Belv. Ramza Belv.
Is that French? What is that?
It does appear to be like some sort of French derivative.
You're right. French fake net, can you check that?
Création de faux filets. It is pronounced Beulv. Ramza Beulv.
Thank you.
De rien.
House Belv, long famed for producing leaders of knights and men. There is no official record of the role he played in history's stage. However, according to the Durai papers, the existence of which became known to the public only this year, they had long lain concealed in the church archives. This forgotten young man is in fact the true hero. The church maintains he was a heretic, an inciter of unrest, and a disturber of the peace.
Can I interject with the PS1 version of that one, because I love it. Also, we should also point out, well, maybe this isn't the case, but in the PS1 version, as it's talking about Delita, we see an image of Delita, and as it's talking about Ramza, we see an image of Ramza. Like the full character art that kind of fades into the background. But that line in the PS1 version is, the church claims he was a blasphemer and anarchist, the root of all evil.
Hell yeah.
And goddamn it, I love when they call true heroes blasphemers and anarchists. It's right up my alley. Like, I want to be, let's say I wanted to be the blasphemer of my time.
Oh yeah, like if I could somehow maintain contact with anybody at my old church and become known as a blasphemer and anarchist, I would love that.
I will never be a blasphemer or be known as a blasphemer.
There's still time, Chris.
But because I'm just a guy.
No, we're approaching middle age. You can do whatever you want.
But like back then, like when I'm 20 or 8, however, let's just say 20.
Yeah.
I played this multiple times. When I'm 20, I think my romantic dream was probably to become a blasphemer and maybe an anarchist.
Ladies find
too.
that pretty hot too.
Yeah. I thought it would be cool to be assassinated for my 22-year-old edgy beliefs.
Super
right?
complex beliefs.
Yeah, I'm so complex. Like,
I'm so deep you don't even understand.
This is
you
how
probably won't get all my beliefs and thoughts.
This is how people who listen to Joe Rogan feel, right?
I'm the most enlightened person you will ever meet. Keep nodding, Joe.
Yeah, but I'm 42. Well, I'm almost 42 now, and I just want to say that I hereby do deem it acceptable to be just a guy.
It's fine.
No one's keeping score.
I don't need to leave any kind of legacy beyond a podcast about Xenogears. It's all right.
Yeah. All right, continue.
Which account is to be believed? Join me in my search to uncover the answer. But before we begin, might I ask you to share with me your name and the date of your birth?
Will you please sit down with me and read the latest novel by Dan Brown, The Da Vinci Code? Right?
I haven't read the Da Vinci Code.
Okay, well, this story is setting itself up as the revelation of suppressed history.
Did they ask Tom Hanks his name before he started that movie?
No, the Da Vinci Code, and actually we'll probably discover this if we do actually watch The Name of the Rose, but deals with the hidden lore that's in history that holds the secrets to the universe and things of that nature.
Oh, so it's a JRPG.
The Da Vinci Code is a JRPG, yes.
Okay, now I understand it. He's asking me to share with me my name, but the default name that comes up is Ramza. So
yes.
Am I Ramza? I
You
thought
are-
he was talking about Ramza, a forgotten young man, or is that about Delita? Like, is he telling me about myself before I'm myself? What the fuck is happening?
Maybe he's just making you the protagonist. Like, he's dictating the history to you, but you're going to be this suppressed man.
Like, this was a major point in Panzer Dragoon Saga when it said, you, the one who controls Edge, what is your name?
Yeah.
And there was a distinct difference.
Yeah, I do believe that we are in a different situation here. Did you put your real birthday in?
No, I'm bound by the rules of retrograde amnesia to go with the defaults, so I put Ramza and then the default birthday, which is January 1st, Capricorn.
Oh, okay. I think I'm also a Capricorn. I put in February 26th because that's when I was playing the game. Yeah.
Today is the day you were born.
And I was streaming too. I didn't want anybody to hack me.
Oh, of course.
By knowing my birthday.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
you can do that. I've actually bleeped out our birthdays on this show multiple times.
Yeah, I'm sure people could figure out our birthdays if
Yep,
they wanted.
just Google it.
Yep.
I've got Ramza's bio from the War of the Lions manual. Do you want that?
I would love it.
Okay. Below each character's portrait, there is a quote that defines their personality. Chris, knowing what you know about this game, what quote do you think would define Ramza's personality? It'll be our little quiz here. Like one sentence. Probably before any kind of character arc takes place.
Close the borders.
Well, that's incorrect, Chris. His actual quote is, I have no wish to change the world.
Okay, close enough. Close the borders.
Well, that's exactly what you said about I can just be a guy.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
His bio. The knight apprentice who takes center stage in this tale. He is the youngest son of the proud house Beowulf, long famed for producing leaders of the Order of the Northern Sky, greatest of our four orders. Count Orlando and the elder Simon often remark on how closely Ramza resembles his father, Lord Barnbaneth Beowulf, when he was yet in his youth. The issue of his father's paramour, a base-born woman of the Lugraya family, Ramza often felt himself to be beneath his true-born brothers. He believes that true justice lies not in fighting for oneself, but for others, and detests those who would sacrifice others to further their own ends, whatever the cause.
That's a lot of good information about Ramza. I think some of that stuff we're going to discover along the way, but I do find that quite interesting. We have some more character bio information for him from the games themselves, from the in-game encyclopedia, but I think we'll get to that later once we unlock that.
Next, I get an animated cutscene, which as far as I know is exclusive to my version. Chris, what do you think?
You get an animated cutscene that is like the storybook drawing kind of stuff, right?
Literally animated, right?
Yes, it's beautiful. I get a CG cutscene, like a 1998 CG cutscene. So
Sure, I played Parasite Eve.
Yeah. We hear the song Prologue. CG cutscene, the camera swoops through a pastoral proto-Lord of the Rings landscape.
New Zealand.
New Zealand,
Nude Zedland.
basically. On the screen, it says Square presents the Zodiac Brave story. The sun is peeking over the mountain as Final Fantasy Tactics is written in the classic Final Fantasy font.
So this is more mellow as opposed to the hard-ass Final Fantasy VIII intro?
Oh yeah, it is mellow. It definitely it's not premonitory. This is
Okay.
like literally what is happening right before the first scene in the game.
I mean, Final Fantasy VIII is also what's happening before the first scene in the game.
Yeah, but you also see like please see Season 3. We then see a knight with the crest of a black lion on his cape. If you're paying close attention, when the knight rises his visor, you can tell that this is Delita if you've played the game before. He is much more explicitly Delita in the PSP version. You can tell it's him. Anyway, he seems to be on the lookout for something, and he signals his homies who are also riding chocobos. They run through the field, passing derelict churches and broken stone walls. Remnants of war, basically, right? If you see a broken stone wall, you know that there's been a war there, right? War, decay, or abandonment.
Some colonial outpost was overridden.
Population has thinned. During this scamper of chocobos, they run under a bridge and through a puddle, and it forms the exact same scene that is on the front of the box art
I think they just grabbed a frame from it.
of the 5. I think it's like a drawing of it, but it is clearly like one was the inspiration for the other. I don't know which order that was. After passing through a forest, the party stops at the front doors of the Orbonne Monastery. The end. PSP.
That's concise, Chris. I think after watching Cloud Strife ride the train and jump off and the whole mid-gear sweep, that may be a bit of a letdown.
Nothing happens during this at all. There's no drama. There's no tension. All that is carried by the music, because the music is really good. The music does swell up pretty appropriately during this.
Do you think the CG cutscenes and tactics were an afterthought after how hard they hit in Final Fantasy VII when it came out in January 97 in Japan?
There's not much CG in the
That's what I'm saying.
PS1,
Like, do you think they had to like just come up with something to put in there?
I think so, because when you look at the intros that we talked about before the press start screen, most of that is just JPEGs and collages and stuff. There's nothing high budget about this at all. But, it works.
Well, in my version, I get the animated cutscene. A scroll opens across a desk. We see a blonde fellow in a monk cloak, a Rosalind, from behind as they unfurl that scroll. Then they place it in a stack of other scrolls. Prologue movie plays. Square Enix once again presents its video game. A Rosalind now unrolls a second scroll. We get a closer look at that second scroll, and it's a goddamn map. We zoom in on a map of special effects, it's etched in ink, and then we see some black text. The Zodiac Brave story. The point of view shifts to some hills or mountains, which then fills in with green color. We receive our third title card for Final Fantasy Tactics. The title stays on screen and never joined by its War of the Lions subtitle.
You know what I like about this is that the PSP CG cutscene creates a natural transition from the historian opening the documents to the story itself.
Yeah, it's like he's unfurling the document.
It's really good, yeah.
Prologue movie continues, and I think the camera pans across a lush green field. In the background, we see a figure kneeling down on top of a small waterfall. This is Delita. We see its reflection, just his feet in the water. Delita walks away off the rocks and mounts a large golden bird nearby. I recognize this beast as a chocobo from popular Final Fantasy games. Delita's white cape blows in the wind, and he uses a hand signal to summon 3 fellow riders from behind him. Chris, what the hell was he doing in that waterfall? Like, checking it for stuff?
I think...
Like, why would he, check the water and then signal his boys? Because it looks cool? Because it look cool.
Is he a tracker? Is he a ranger?
I think so. Maybe he's tracking something through waterfalls.
We don't necessarily know this yet, but he is on somewhat of a sneaking mission. And there is some light reconnaissance involved.
Maybe they're wading through waterfalls to get rid of their own tracks.
Also, very, very true.
The music shifts to a breakbeat as the visual presentation showcases multiple angles of the 4 riders making their way through a forest. We reach an open field lush with green grass and rocks, and our caped hero veers off on his own course. Delita summits a hill and the chocobo slows down. Then he looks at the sky and finds a large bird soaring through the clouds, which now fills the sky. And this large bird returned through several animated cutscenes in the rest of the game. It then cuts to Delita slow walking his chocobo against a stone wall. The duo are moseying through the ruins of a bombed-out city. We pass through one of the remaining archways, and something catches our boy's eye. It looks like the sculpture of a bird on top of another arch. But then Delita takes off again, right as the camera cuts to a landscape shot of the burned-out town and its dead trees. Finally, Delita's cape blows in the wind, and the look on his face is one of sheer determination. After what's implied to be a long journey, the chocobo slows down as it begins to rain. We've arrived at the tower in the stone structure, the Orbonne Monastery, and we're looking at it under the cover of trees from a nearby forest. Lightning fills the sky, and we fade to black. So, Chris, what is the bird imagery? It's a bird overhead. There's a bird sculpture thing. Does this game have bird metaphors? I thought we're talking about lions.
The bird metaphor was absent from the PS1 version, so that might be something that we need to keep an eye on. I don't know. I don't know what the bird metaphor is.
Watch out for birds.
Could you tell from that opening cutscene, just visually, that he was running through a war-torn area?
No.
Really?
No idea. I know there's that ruined cobblestone home area, but to me, it was a guy riding chocobos through the forest. Okay. That's all I got from that.
Okay. Once you have the context for what's happening, this is a pretty interesting scene.
I believe you. I understand that to be the context now, but to me, it was just a pretty cut scene of a guy, moseying through Shadow of the Colossus zone.
Yeah.
Into a monastery.
Yeah, that's better than New Zealand. Well, I'd rather live in New Zealand than Shadow of the Colossus zone. But
I don't know. It's fine there. You just don't let the Colossuses be. Most of them aren't aggressive.
That's true. Good point.
Orbonne Monastery.
Yes, Hall of Worship.
Music plays?
Hall of Worship.
It's called Hall of Worship.
Are you using the thing from Zophar's domain or something?
I am using, when I put into YouTube, Final Fantasy War of the Lions OST, and then a playlist comes up, and that's what I'm using.
Oh, something that somebody uploaded to YouTube?
Yeah, maybe because that's the only one that's not blocked.
Okay, I'm glad that you're doing that, because I'm using the official one from YouTube Music and Spotify and stuff, so our translations are going to be slightly different.
Fantastic. But as far as I know, War of the Lions does not have maybe it's remastered, but it's the exact same soundtrack.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, yeah.
We're in Orbonne Monastery, which to me looks like a church.
Yeah.
And I was wondering at this point how much of the church has been localized away from your version or my version because of what happened to Xenogears.
I don't think much, because this game is explicitly about the church.
Well, yeah, but you still call it the ethos, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, you mean the
if they're
terminology.
going to call it Jesus Church. I mean, not Jesus, but church. You know what I mean? Like, to most Americans, church means Jesus.
They did use the word monastery, though, so that is interesting.
Our point of view is isometric. The north window is in the shape of a keyhole, and ornate designs surround its cutout. 2 opaque windows provide light from opposing sides, and it's really red in here. At the end of a carpeted altar, 1 figure kneels while 2 stand behind them.
What imagery did you pick up that they were like praying to? Because to me, it looked like a cross, but not a cross. It looked more like a pickaxe.
Is this the north window that's the shape of a keyhole?
Maybe.
That's all I noted in my notes for that. I didn't necessarily see an idol that they were kneeling in front of.
Yeah, there's something there in what you would normally expect it to be a cross in a Christian church, but to me it looked like some other sort of symbol.
Jesus died on the other symbol in this world.
He died on the pickaxe from Minecraft.
From communism. Chris, in your brain mind, what differentiates a monastery from a church?
Monks.
I was going to say the remains of dead people, like proudly on display, but I guess churches have those too. I think it's more of a cathedral thing.
Yeah, maybe so.
The kneeling figure is Princess Atkasha Ovelia, and her text unfurls in a displeasing font across the screen. Oh my God, I hate this font.
Really?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty abrasive.
Is it different? I'll have to look and see if it's different than the PS1 version, because I didn't detect that.
O Father, abandon not your wayward children of Evilis, but deliver us from our sins, that we might know salvation.
Oh, wow. I've got, God, please help us, sinful children of Evilis.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You can see that they're working with the same source, sinful children. That's a pretty standard prayer in my Catholic brain. Chris.
Yeah?
Ovelia's bio from the manual.
Oh.
What do you think her quote is?
Please don't punch me in the stomach.
No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It is, would that I were born no princess.
Oh, okay.
Here's her bio. Adopted daughter of King Ondoria Atkasha III, ruler of the kingdom of Evilis, she formerly joined House Atkasha on occasion of the death of the king's second son.
Oh.
Are these spoilers?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's in the fucking manual, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe premise spoilers, like first act spoilers. Though it is widely believed that she is the true-born child of the late King Dinamad IV, making her the half-sister of Ondoria III, she is in fact not of the royal bloodline.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
The council, which abhors the prospect of Queen Luveria ruling the kingdom, installed her in place of the true princess, who died long ago, so that she might succeed the throne. Her true parentage is unknown. Also, editor's note, I don't like pronouncing when someone is the third, I just call them 3.
Why?
It's funnier.
Okay, good enough.
Soon after Princess Ovelia entered the royal family, Queen Luveria gave birth to a third son, Prince Orinus Atkasha. The princess was then entrusted to the care of Duke Larg, who arranged for her to be fostered within the quiet sanctuary of Orbonne Monastery. And that's it. By the way, Ondoria 3, that reminds me of Don't Believe Ondor's Lies from the Evilis saga of Final Fantasy XII.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's a relation to that.
Maybe.
Next, a knight dressed in blues, stationed behind the princess, uses a portraited dialogue box to tell Lady Ovelia, it is time.
I do like here, this is something that I always appreciate in any game, any kind of sprite-based game, but like at this point in time, Princess Ovelia softly raises her head with a single frame of animation.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's one frame, but it's enough to really set the staging for the scene. It's something that I think that the 16-bit Final Fantasy got really, really good at by the time Final Fantasy VI rolled around. And we kind of lost it a little bit in the 32-bit era.
Are you a sprite truther, Chris?
A sprite truther, yeah. I guess you would call me a sprite truther because they can be more emotive, I think, than like Blocky Cloud.
Than Popeye Cloud. I mean,
yeah.
Squall blinked a lot of the time. That was nice, wasn't it?
They got a little bit better about it in Final Fantasy VIII, but it felt more uncanny, I think. The way sprites have subtle movements to telegraph, convey emotion and telegraph what's going on, I think it works better. And now that we're back to sprites on 3D backgrounds, well, we've found God again when it comes to the ability for this podcast to analyze the staging of sprites, because it's something I love.
We're back in our natural habitat. But yeah, this game is loaded with subtle and deft touches of sprite animation, and it really The isometric angle and the limited field screens really make it feel like a play.
Yeah, it really does. And we're not going to get, as far as I remember, we're not going to get a ton of like bespoke things like we got in Suikoden 2, but I think it still does really good with like the tool set that it has to work with.
Do you think the American education system, as we knew it when we were being educated as Americans, was overly focused on Shakespeare? And like, how many sonnets did you memorize? How many fucking Shakespeare plays did you read? And did that prepare us for something like this more so than no exposure? Like, what if all we had was like Errol Flynn Robin Hood movies or something?
That's an interesting question. Like what is are you asking me?
Like, are we attuned to understand this because does this feel like school? Like we're seeing a play?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I do think that there is some level of like basic literary analysis that is useful to all humans. I don't know if they still do that anymore. Yeah, do that anymore. But I think that like, yeah, maybe you and I are drawing upon those experiences subconsciously, but I don't know how many people do that.
Like, I pursued an English degree for 2 years and had to read a whole bunch of American and British literature, and they weren't too interested in literature that wasn't in English as a first language. Ever.
Yeah. Interesting.
The knight is Lady Agrias Oaks, and Ovelia tells her that she won't be much longer. But Agrias, what do you have that? Agrias?
Yeah, Agrias. Yeah.
Raises a hand, pressuring the princess to wrap it the fuck up. Your escort has already arrived, Majesty. Chris Agrias has a bio from the manual, too.
Oh.
Got a quote guess for Agrias?
Slay evil, but do not harm the peasants.
That's pretty close.
Okay.
Have you no pride, no honor?
Yeah, okay.
A female knight serving the Lion's Guard, the crown's personal shield. Rising tensions between Duke Larg and Goltana after the death of Ondoria III led to fears for the safety of Princess Ovelia. And the council dispatched Lady Oaks to the Orbonne Monastery as a guard. Her loyalty to the royal family is unwavering, as is her strong sense of moral clarity. Agrias sympathizes with Ovelia for having to live sequestered away from the rest of the kingdom. Also, we're seeing some colors here, right? Like, Ovelia's knights are blue. The Corpse Brigade later is mostly green. Is that consistent throughout this game, or is it they just happen to be blue right here?
I'm looking at a screenshot now, and that is true, that the knights on our side are wearing blue. I'm always I'm drawn to the color of the capes, so I was thinking of them as white knights, but yeah.
A bald older man in golden robes, the only other person here, steps forward to speak. He's identified as priest, and he says, "Please heed the good lady's words, Highness. You must hurry."
Beautiful.
A door opens and the camera spins 45 degrees, showing the viewer the arrival of 3 new figures. Swordsman in full armor speaks first, and he can't believe Ovelia is still here. It's been the better part of an hour. Agrias responds harshly and simultaneously enters this dude into JRPG Name Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Gaffgarion.
I think the PSP version, there's an extra F in the Gaff, but
I've got 2 Fs in Gaff.
Yeah, I've only got 1 F. A couple things about Gaffgarion is the first impression of him, because we've got him that's entered the room. There's a generic boy, and then you probably didn't notice this because it's your first time playing the game, but Ramza has also entered the room just behind Gaffgarion. But in general, I think, and don't accuse me of spoilers because I honestly don't remember this.
Oh, I'll forget whatever you're going to say. It's fine.
But generally, when a knight enters the room and he's wearing black armor, he's sus, as the kids would say. He's suspicious. Like black armor, dark armor equals suspicious.
I'm trying to run through all the Black Knights in my head, and they all just come. Just the guy that gets his arms chopped off.
Yeah, that's all that's come into play. But I am into Gaffgarion for 2 specific reasons. I mean, because dark armor might be suspicious, and he might be a secret bad guy, but also it's cool. And
dark armor is generally cool.
And also, you haven't got to dialogue yet, but I'll go ahead and say this now. I think that being rude to nobles is also cool.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
And he's about to do that, so proceed, please.
Now, when I said all-star name, this was the first name that this game hit me with. I didn't know that all the names in this game were going to be like this.
Yeah.
Gaffgarion, you forget yourself, sir, and that's S-E-R on sir.
Ooh.
You're in the presence of the princess. And it presents both of these boxes on screen simultaneously. It lets one as set up a reply to the other and lets the other linger in its presence.
I'm getting a good read for the difference between the PSP translation and the PS1. Because whatever you just said that Agrias said, in the PS1 version, she just says, "Don't be rude to the princess, Gaffgarion." So yours was much more flourishy and flowery and purpley. Yeah. And I don't know if that's going to become grating along the way, but I do like it a lot.
Like in yours, Agrias expresses annoyance, whereas me, she's trying to police his lack of decorum.
Yeah.
The 2 figures behind Gaffgarion kneel, but Gaffgarion only bows his head. He then issues an all-star caliber sentence. "Mayhap bowed heads would less offend. You would do well to waste less time on idle pleasantries."
That's pretty good. All he says in the PS1 version is this going to be all right, Agrius? This is an urgent issue for us. And even that like sort of immediate pushback. I mean, my note was what a fucking king. But with your note, with your line, I'm going to have to, what else can I say? What a fucking king. King
may have
king squared.
Heads. Chris, what idle pleasantries would you do well to waste less time on?
Jacking off.
Okay. Agrius detects the sass and deploys some of her own. I see even the noble order of the Northern Sky cannot rid itself of vulgar knaves.
Oh, I've got rude knaves. Now, there's an interesting point about the localization here. So would you call it the Knights of the Northern Sky?
The noble order of the Northern Sky.
So I think that they believe, I'll have to look this up and talk about it later, but I believe even Matsuno himself was confused by this, but...
The writer confused himself?
No, but he was confused by the localization because they did not translate those words, they Romanized them.
Oh.
So in the PS1 release, it's just called the Hokuten Knights because that's the Japanese word. They just wrote it.
Wrote it right over.
Yeah, so I've got the Hokuten Knights, you've got the Knights of the Order, Sky, Word, Sword, whatever.
Yeah, Skyward Sword, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Gaffgarion lines up his next retort. A guard captain in these rain-sodden hinterlands ought not expect chivalry. We are an employee of the Order, not of it. Our pay does not cover the trite courtesies to the likes of you.
Wow.
So we're mercs.
I just work here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not bound to your language and respect. Agrius replies in a way that pleases me. Govern your tongue.
She just says, how dare you? This does cause the princess to stand up and declare that she's had enough of this shit, right?
Yeah, she agrees to get the hell out of here. She steps back and faces the priest, who tells her, "The Father watch over you, child."
Oh, go with God. That's what I have.
She also withviews him and says, "And you, elder."
Oh, really? She calls him Simon in mine.
Simon?
Yeah, that's his name.
Fuck, dude. Then somebody else rolls in. They're stumbling, they're hurt, and the music changes to enemy attack.
The enemy approaches.
It's a knight, a lady knight, and she tells Milady that our shit is under attack. The priest, Simon, I guess, suspects Duke Goltana's men. Agrius says nothing and sprints to the door. Gaffgarion tells the gang, "We are paid for this. Time to earn our keep." He then addresses one of his yet unnamed compatriots. "What is it, Ramza? You above getting paid to do a job?" Ramza, the fellow in purple draperies with blonde hair, is into it. Conditionally. "I'm a knight no longer. Just another sellsword."
The PlayStation localization used mercenary there.
Yeah, merc works, but sellsword is more like to the time period.
Yes, sellsword is way better, yeah.
And there's several words here that I only encountered for the first time reading Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. By the way, we learned rude knave. Is that our first ye old English insult? Or was it...
vulgar knave.
Vulgar knave?
I think vulgar knave is currently, if we're going to rank those, and we should play along for as long as we can, that is number one and it's last. Vulgar knave.
Okay, let's put that on the list here.
Gaffgarion squad exits, and Ovelia leaves us with a "Deliver us, O Lord." The camera pulls away as it fades to blue, then to black. So before we leave, I was unclear if all the guys in here are on the same team. Gaffgarion is just busting balls, right?
Gaffgarion's busting balls, but I'm thinking that...
Because I wasn't sure if, they were supposed to be here.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're sellswords.
Yeah.
But they are currently being paid by the Hokuten, or the Order of the Northern
Sky.
Northern Sky, excuse me. So they're all on the same side, but, some of them are just mercs.
We move outside Orbonne Monastery, new map.
Raining.
It's an angular grass and stone field. I love how the camera rotates around the space before settling on its storytelling angle.
Yes.
Agrius and two lady knights stand opposite to 5 aggressors. 3 blonde guys in green trousers, a green hat guy, and a brown-haired man with a white cape with some red symbol on it.
May I translate for you?
Raindrops are visible in the field, yes.
That's 3 archers, 1 knight, and 1 chemist.
Are we identifying by job classes here?
Yes.
I didn't know. It's hard for me to tell if these are going to be named characters that we don't meet until later, or if these are just roving jagoffs.
They're all roaming jagoffs. They're all from Pittsburgh.
Agrius speaks formidable words. They bear the crest of the Black Lion. Duke Goltana must be mad. Does he mean to start a war? The Cape Man, identified as Knight, speaks. "You there, wench. You cannot hope to defeat us. You will surrender the princess. If not, well, I would hate to see anything happen to that pretty face of yours."
He calls her a knave in the PlayStation version. Is wench good enough to go on the insult list?
I think wench is pretty good. I didn't expect wench from this game.
Okay. So are we going to a sound effect for this whenever we have one?
If you give me a good idea to make one, I could the best I got when you said list is Chris Jericho talking about the list.
Ye old English power ranking. Moment.
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I think we need to work on it.
We'll play with it.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll have something before the edit.
Nope. Sorry.
All right. Is it better or worse than Vulgar Knave?
I think Vulgar Knave is above Wench.
Vulgar Knave stays at number 1.
Like, Wench has no sauce. Vulgar Knave is a compound.
Yes. I'm looking forward to Vulgar Wench.
So, there is a bit of sexism here with Pretty Face of yours, but it looks like female knights are... I mean, even as your options for making a squad later, there are some differences, but the divide between the sexes is basically non-existent with job titles here, right? Like, it wouldn't be weird for him to see a lady knight, would it?
No. I don't know. I don't remember if this game has gender-specific job classes. Some tactics games do, like Bard and Dancer and things of that nature.
Well, I just mean like compatibility.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are differences with Ramza versus which gender it is.
Yes. He uses, in that intent of that dialogue is also present in the original version.
Gaffgarion, Ramza, and the other guy, whose name is Lad, enter the field.
His name is Rad. Excuse me.
Good. With 2 Ds or 1?
2 Ds.
I got Lad with 2 Ds as well.
I think.
Gaffgarion speaks. A head-on assault. These swords of Goltana? Lackwitz, one and all.
Ooh, Lackwitz.
Lackwitz is pretty good. I would
Lackwitz.
put Lackwitz above Wench, but below Vulgar Knave.
Okay, let me check mine real quick. That's Gaffgarion, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he just says idiots. Okay.
Lackwitz,
All right, so Lackwitz goes number 2.
Yeah.
Is that, how do you spell that?
Lack, L-A-C-K, wits, W-I-T-S.
Okay.
One word.
All right. There's no, okay.
Agria steps forward, implying that if this is true, she doesn't need Gaffgarion's help with any of this shit. Gaffgarion agrees, but also showcases his weakness. Mayhap you could, but there's no money to be made in that. Lad, Ramza, with me. Chris, will Gaffgarion's love of money lead to his downfall, or is that just a personality trait we're establishing early on? No comment.
Honestly,
Chris.
don't know. I don't remember a lot of the details of this game.
Everyone starts to walk in place as the battlefield slightly changes colors, and we receive an objective. Defeat all enemies. Music trisection plays.
Same. Do you know how you know when the battle has begun, Eric? Other than the fact that it says battle start.
The word commence flashes across the screen and color information is restored.
That, but also everyone begins walking in place.
Something that pisses me off about this game, not pisses me off, but irritates me, is what you just said isn't true. Because they'll have a little sparring match before. It'll say battle commence, and then they'll just keep doing the verbal sparring after battle commence.
Yeah, that is true.
Why?
Maybe it has to do with them. Actually, I don't know. That's a good question. It's very interesting. But we can't. The story can be told both in and out of battle.
Such as right now, they continue with dialogue. Gaffgarion restates the objectives. Kill them all, leave no man standing. Lightning flashes, and Agrius doth protest. You would have us slaughter them. Are you mad? Kill them here, and you'll only have played into Duke Goltana's hands. We need only put them to rout. Gaffgarion responds as only Gaffgarion can, Chris. I find dead man rout more easily.
Beautiful.
Battle. Oh fuck, oh shit, I have to play this thing now. Oh god.
Gaffgarion says we can't make money that way.
Chris, this battle did not go well for me initially.
Why?
The mod I had installed, unbeknownst to me, allowed control of guest characters, which was everyone in this party, and I fucked everything up.
Okay,
I died in the tutorial battle.
That makes a lot more sense. You just didn't know how to use Gaffgarion and Agrius' special moves.
I
basically.
didn't know how to play this video game.
Can you explain what you mean by you didn't know how, you didn't...
I mean, there are things as nuanced as which direction your character is facing.
Yeah.
How do you move? Do you have to move over places? When you attack, do you have to attack the person or the space that they're in? Just the basic building blocks of how to operate this video game were alien artifacts to me, and I lacked the codex device to translate them. Plus, everybody had even when you push a button, you get a bunch of options, and I don't know what the fuck any of that means. It said sword arts or some shit.
Yeah.
Or knight chivalry or something. I don't know what that is.
That's interesting. Very interesting. So you've been asked to write a paragraph and you barely know words.
Yeah, it's write it in Spanish. It's I took French. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I went back to that original ROM, added a different patch that only removes the slowdown and nothing else, and started over. Patch also fixed tutorials. I spent an hour doing the main tutorials. I also watched Resonant Arcs 10 Tips to Get Started video about Final Fantasy Tactics. Thank you, Mike. Also, I'm an adult and don't want to quit something because I had a bad time on the first experience.
Good. Congratulations. So you're right. You've restored the balance, and now we can only control Ramza, which gives this
so much better.
A proper... This is not like a real tutorial in the modern sense, but it does give you the opportunity to control one guy and see what this game's all about. You don't really have to do anything with Ramza. You could really skip your turn and they'll kill everybody.
Well, what I did was throw a rock and hit Agrius in the back of the head on accident.
Actually, you know what? You've actually stumbled into a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, that's my next note. And the other best tips guide I looked up, it said have my units beat up my other units to gain more experience.
Yeah, if you're routing the enemy and you're way ahead and someone's just going to pass on their turn, you might as well just have them hit somebody.
So you understand that I enjoy doing ridiculous things in these games and breaking them and having Selfie eat every single enemy with the Devour Mood, stuff like that. But in the context of the narrative, throwing rocks at my buddies and lighting them on fire for extra experience points seems insane.
It does. It does.
Okay.
And this is better than what you had to do in the Super Famicom version of Tactics Ogre, because your basic way of leveling up was to just throw rocks at each other constantly during random battles. Like
that sounds great. Is it like the equivalent of jumping 100 times in...
Dodging the lightning? I don't know.
Oblivion? That's what I was looking for? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe so. Kind of like that. I did note here some of the names of the enemy soldiers as they were... taking their turns here, because I find the names of the faceless soldiers in this game to be fascinating. We've got Dish.
Oh, Dish is pretty good.
Fuchs.
Oh, okay.
And Lazalis.
Okay.
Did you take note of Agrius's or Gaffgarion's special moves?
I didn't take note of them, but I saw them and was like, wow, that seems like a high-level magic spell for the first... Because I thought this was just the game. I didn't know we were flashing forward here. I thought this was where the game started.
Yeah.
These were all my homies for the next 25 hours.
Oh, no. I don't know what they're called in the PSP version, but Agrius uses Stasis Sword and Gaffgarion uses Knight Sword. They are very much two sides of the same coin. I don't think there is an actual Dark Knight in the PS1 version proper, but Gaffgarion kind of fills that role here.
Chris, can we talk about how cool the map rotation noise is?
Oh, the map rotation noise is terrific.
It's tremendous. That's why it's the secret sound for this season.
Do you know what really kind of bums me out about the Android version of this game?
The sound's all fucked up?
No, I can't use my finger to rotate the map.
Oh, wow.
Feels like it should be able to do that.
Yeah, do you have to use on-screen buttons or something? Ugh.
Yeah, there's arrows.
This game, it does have a little bit of what I like to call fussiness.
Yeah.
They kind of bog it down, like having to pick the direction your guy faces every single time is like, I don't know what the solution for that is, but it sucks, man.
You're coming from a different perspective than me, because like that is paramount to strategy games. Like anytime,
but it's like one more thing. Like I have to do a bunch of things for one turn and then pick which.
If the direction that you were facing didn't matter, it would this game would not be as dense as it.
No, I agree. Like I don't see a way around the problem. It's just like one more thing that drags the pacing down.
Yeah. Don't play XCOM. Or Fire Emblem.
I have XCOM for PS1. Is that what you're talking about? We can play that anytime we want. I got it complete in box. Long box, Chris.
Cool.
Also, here's some questions I have after the end of this battle.
Yeah?
If battles will always take this long? If I'll get tired of having to pick which way my character faces? If moving characters around a map and shifting the view around will ever feel better? Oh, and that's basically what we just talked about.
Yeah. I think battles do take longer, but your level of engagement will increase because you'll be in charge of every single character.
And I'll be invested in my characters because they are mine.
Yes.
Animated cutscene?
Yes, you have an animated cutscene. I don't. Why don't you go ahead and run through that?
Did anything else from your first battle?
No. After the battle is over, we hear Ovelia scream from inside the monastery, and that's where...
Like actually hear a scream, or is it...
are you familiar with the death scream?
Oh, yeah, it's good. We're going to hear it right here.
Yeah. Well, we hear one of those.
Okay.
And then the scene that you were about to describe plays out in the in-game engine.
Animated cutscene. Rain falls over Orbonne Monastery. In the background, we hear Ovelia exclaim, prompting Agrius and Ramza to run into her.
The princess!
Inside the monastery, we find Ovelia in the gold-armored clutches of a new character, Delita. It's new to me, Chris.
Yeah.
He's begging Ovelia to come with him and to shut the fuck up, but she's not having it.
This way. Be quick. And try making a little less noise.
I'll not take orders from you!
You've quite a mouth on you, princess.
Chris, Ovelia is voiced by Kari Walgren, who you may remember from Final Fantasy XVI as Ariana Highwind, Elika from that one Prince of Persia reboot, Jeanne d'Arc from Jeanne d'Arc.
Oh, wow.
And Debbie Pennsylvania from Pumpkin Scissors. I made that up. That's not real.
Okay. Eric is making a subtle reference to our Bonus content for Season 5, anime on DVD starring Xenosaga the Animation, where many of the characters' voice actors had also voiced characters in an anime called Pumpkin Scissors, which we became highly fascinated by during the course of our exploration of Xenosaga the Animation. Go to patreon.com/retroam and pay us $3, but
It's 12 episodes. It's pretty good.
you should listen to it. It's pretty fun.
Then Delita either squeezes her real hard or hits her. I thought due to the angle, they may have even been doing a kiss, but I don't know.
I have the definitive answer here because I'm seeing this play out in sprites, and sprites move in a less complex manner than storybook CG cutscenes.
Did he hit her?
He double dragon punches her in the stomach.
God damn. Oh my God, really?
Yeah, do you know when, what is her name? Maria?
In Double Dragon?
Yeah.
I don't know her canon name. I know the scene you're talking about, like it's in every...
The opening Double Dragon
Yeah,
scene
where he punches a lady in the stomach and then takes her.
It's that. But in this case, he doesn't just take her, he puts her on the back of a chocobo.
Delita says, "You've quite a mouth on you, princess." And like, I thought that was going to be his opening line to kiss her on that mouth, but I guess not, because then she passes out. Delita's justification is thus:
Forgive me. 'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I.
Chris, is that true?
Well, we can...
I think he just hit her. I'm pretty sure he just wronged her.
Well, can we discuss this through the context of how this line is written in the PlayStation version?
Sure, yeah.
Tough. Don't blame us. Blame yourself or God.
That's pretty good. Blame yourself or God's pretty good.
Yeah, that's sort of the famous line from this game. And
it's your fault or it's destiny.
I believe somebody in the RealNet even said that in the marketing for this version, they had that line. They had this line. They kept this line in the PSP version, but I guess that was axed once they decided to animate this, maybe. But I do believe that the intent of that sentence is to say that this isn't my fault, it is the circumstances of your birth.
And I'm a slave to destiny.
Yeah, which is really interesting because we've discussed characters in the past, like in Suikoden 2, I think we've discussed characters that feel that they are slaves to destiny. And I think that'll be interesting to look at as we go forward.
Chris, Delita is voiced by Robin Atkins Downs, who you could remember from such voice acting roles as Prime Number 3 in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Luxord from Kingdom Hearts 2, and Master Miller in Phantom Pain.
Oh, really?
And also every other video game ever made. Look this dude up. He's prolific. Chris, the prologue has told me Delita is a hero. Why is he beating a lady up? Well, to answer that, since you've already said the real answer, let's revisit his bio.
We're in the secret history, so that's why he's not a hero.
It's deleted. What do you think his quote is that would describe Delita?
Blame yourself or God.
'Tis your birth and faith that wrong you, not I.
Oh, okay. So there you go. I was right.
Ramza's most trusted childhood friend and fellow knight apprentice at the Royal Military Academy at Garyland. Born of a mere stable hand and his wife, Delita and his sister Tietra were taken in by House Bilv when their parents succumbed to the Black Death. Through the influence of Ramza's father, the late Lord Barnbameth, Delita was admitted to the Academy, a privilege ordinarily reserved for the sons and daughters of the aristocracy. However, as a commoner among nobles, he is often felt out of place. But Chris's animated cutscene is not over.
Yeah?
Agrias and Ramza rush in. Agrias demands whoever that is hold it there, and she damns it when they do not comply.
Hold there!
Chris Agrias is voiced by Hetty Burris, who you may remember as Brigitte Rosie Stark in the first two Valkyria Chronicles games.
I don't remember who that is.
And the character Yuna from Kingdom Hearts 2, Dissidia 012 Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy Explorers, World of Final Fantasy, Mobius Final Fantasy, and Dissidia Final Fantasy NT.
So she performed Yuna, but not the original Yuna?
Unless I cleverly left that out of my description.
Okay.
Initializing fake net.
Hedy Burris was also the original Yuna in Final Fantasy X.
Ramza stares forward and says nothing, but then we hear the clank-clank of Delita's armor marching away, and we see Ramza's point of view. He can only see the man from his backside. And Ramza wonders,
is it truly him?
Chris Ramza is voiced by Phil fucking Lamar, a prolific actor and voice actor who you could remember from being shot in the face in Pulp Fiction. Phil also handled voice work for Vamp in Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4, Kotal Khan in the last few Mortal Kombats, and of course, Donald in Samurai Western.
Donald!
Lastly, he reprised the role of Ramza in which game?
That's the role of Final Fantasy XIV.
Dissidia, Final Fantasy NT.
Really? Ramza's in Dissidia?
The little PS4 one, not the PSP ones.
Interesting.
Back outside the monastery in the rain, Ramza makes it out the front door just in time to see a slow-motion action shot of Delita getting away with the princess. Time slows down briefly to allow the two men, or boys, whatever they are, to make eye contact. This looks badass.
Yeah, I feel like this technique has been employed in other things, although I really couldn't. I mean, it does feel very anime.
Yeah.
But also I feel like this could work in any kind of film where you just kind of slow motion when two characters lock eyes in a moment.
Films like Money Plane. Agrias rushes out after Ramza, huffing and puffing but out of breath. She can't believe this shit.
I cannot be!
Ramza lays it down.
Delita, he leaves? But why does he fight under the banner of Duke Goltana?
In a wide shot, Agrias rubs her face, lightning crashes, and we fade to black.
Cool. I did look at this scene because I've played this far on the in the Android version, and I was surprised that we got another CG cutscene this early.
I think they're
going
to front load them.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be the case in a lot of Square RPGs from this time, but I don't think it's worth going over the scene on the PS1 version. It's basically the same thing, except for just played out in-game cutscene. So the stage is set now, Eric, and now we're ready to head to some more lore. Can you describe to me your state of confusion when this game goes back in time? Because it doesn't tell you this game is about to go back in time. Did you get it, or were you confused?
I think it did tell me.
Oh, it does. Okay, interesting. Because I do remember being very confused when I played this game originally, because we have this moment with Delita, and then the next scene opens, and Delita is standing right next to me, and I was very, very confused.
Just looking at my notes, it didn't actually tell me, but yeah, I think I was confused. I thought it was back in time, but not at the time I thought it was. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, there are some tells that it is back in time, but like not a ton. This made me think about Suikoden 2. And this might slightly spoil some things in Suikoden 2. If you don't know how that story goes in, skip ahead like 30 seconds. But it makes me wonder what it would have been like if we would have known of Jowy's betrayal at the beginning of the game, before they jumped off the cliff.
I think you would have to completely rewrite the way the game is structured, because then you just have dramatic irony the entire time instead of building tension.
Either technique is viable.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Assuming the story is well written, you can kind of play with format whatever way you want.
And this game is already playing around with the idea of Delita is not who history says he is. This technique works.
Do you have anything else before Chapter 1, the meager?
I wanted to consult the RealNet.
Initializing RealNet.
Hi, RealNet. Sure is nice to see you all again.
Final Fantasy Tactics appears to be more popular than our anime episodes, Chris.
I wonder why. John Doe says, my assumption is that the disenfranchised nobles and knights are the ones who picked the losing side during the previous big-ass war that just ended.
The ones who were torn apart?
Yes. Good call. John Doe says, yeah, the issue with big sweeping political games of Thrones is that you really need to give your audience enough context for them to actually get and appreciate who's stabbing who in the back. Too many of these suffer from front-loading their proper nouns too much and overwhelming people early on. That is a good point, because like, if you think of the actual Game of Thrones, that story opened up with just like one family doing things, and you learned about the world through the Stark family.
Well, yeah, you can't. Yeah. I mean, it's better to introduce people through action and not through titles anyway.
Yeah, and they did not give us any of the other stuff in the... Eric Vedon says, the best thing you can do in your 20s is assassinate the Austrian emperor and plunge Europe into war.
I tried that, but I didn't have a good escape plan, you know?
Cal L says, what's the collective noun for a group of chocobos? A wark of chocobos? Eric Vedon says it's a quay of chocobos.
Yeah, that's good.
John Doe says a meteor storm of chocobo. Eric Vedon says, I really do like the world of... I keep saying World of Light. I really like the War of the Lions CG cutscenes. The animated storybook does really well to paint this is the past told through an ancient book by a guy who is just absolutely quirked out on correcting history.
Yeah, I'm curious if the framing device of Arzalan, is that what we decided his name was?
Yeah.
If this serves any greater purpose, as a meta-narrative type thing, or if it's just something if the layer feels pointless or not, is what I'm wondering.
That's a really good thought. I would be curious as if how this pays off, or if it pays off. Grace Wandeer says, monks make really good cheese and beer around here. John Doe says, Jesus died on the obelisk for your sins.
The world could have been different.
John Doe says, I think polygons versus sprite things is a matter of context. Good sprite work and good polygonal work can be comparable for suitable characterization, but sprites went out of style late enough that they represented a mature art form, while the stuff that came next was a new medium that was rough for most of our formative years. Yeah.
Wasn't the text that traditionally put above Jesus' head supposed to be mocking and sarcastic? The INR, whatever that translates to.
Yeah.
How different would history have been if that happened now, and instead of that, they just put an Alf helmet above, like
Yep.
Optimus Prime voice changing mask.
Eric Vernon says Gaffgarion can't be trusted because his name is Gaffgarion.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an outlier. Like, there's Paul, Lady Jessica, and Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, everybody is Duncan, Idaho in this game.
Shy Guy 32 says Chris Jericho is also a huge piece of shit.
That's why I was thinking about not doing it.
Yeah.
Like the pendulum on Chris Jericho has swung back to piece of shit over the last couple of months.
I think
as I understand
it's been longer than that, but it's been, I don't really keep up with wrestling, but I hear things. Eric Verdon says Rad or Lad surviving until the end of this game is the true hero of this game.
Spoilers.
Well, I mean, he can be killed. He could be perma killed because he's just a guy.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Do you see the equivalent of the gnome in Half-Life 2 episode? Carrying him to the end.
You could say that about just about any of the characters that you started
the fucking with, playing all of Resident Evil 4 with what, the fish in your inventory?
Beating God Hand with a kick me sound on your back.
There you go.
Jesse says Gaffgarion is a dick, but he's an entertaining dick.
Most dicks seek to entertain something.
John Doe says living foes don't pay my bills. Gaffgarion rules. Eric Vadon says another option is to take a low-level character and have higher-level characters toss rocks at them. That way you get the high JP and low EXP. Job points. Experience points.
I will not assault my own characters with rocks.
Currencies.
No sooner be a vulgar knave than an honorous...
A wench.
Yeah.
A lackwit. Grace One Deer says, I love how we justify this game as good. Actually, you just need to throw rocks at your characters and leveling goes faster. That is pretty good. John Doe says, Delita punching a princess in the fucking gut and then dropping a cool one-liner is basically the perfect way to establish this character. Eric Vernon says, Delita, known true teller of truth and definitely not a gaslighting girl boss. Eric Vernon says, it's us, the real net, the vulgar knaves.
That may have to be the thing for this, the bonus content for this season, the vulgar knaves.
The vulgar knaves. All right, real net, you vulgar knaves. Thank you for joining us on this fine evening. And we'll see you on the next episode of Retrograde Amnesia. This episode is a production of Retrograde Amnesia, recorded on March 8th, 2024. Thank you, Mark
Shepard,
for the intro music.
You're welcome, Chris.
And thank you to WorldSend for the podcast artwork. You can find us on Twitter, Retro Amnesia Pod. Email us podcast@retrogradeamnesia.com. We're on YouTube. You can listen there, leave comments there, or go to patreon.com/retroam and give us some dollars, and we'll give you some bonus content in return. Until next time, Eric.
Yes, we will blame God.
Blame yourself for God. And now you may go back to sleep. I'm not letting my dog run away. I'm letting her upstairs because she hears the children.
Dog's gone.
Because I think Brooke's home now. The kingdom of Ivelisse?
That's what it said.
The kingdom of...
What did you say in your head before 3 days ago?
I don't know. I think I said Ivelisse. But I think Ivelisse seems much more correct. All right, two factions. Powerful nobles. Got mush mouth tonight. Powerful noble.
You want me to get in my car and park and come back in like I just got here?
Can't be upstairs.
Why?
Because she's being pretty weird.
She's being weird?
She's being not good.
What do you mean?
She keeps getting in the trash.
Is Mom here?
No.
Oh, so this is a decision that you made.
Yeah.
Okay. See you later.
The innocence of children. Etched in ink in life. There's no way to make this make sense. How do I make this make sense?
Etched engraved in the sword. My heart shatters for you on the stage of history. It is interesting because shortly after an opposing.
Thank you, Kirby. You didn't hear that.
Hopefully Avery's not sitting in the hallway listening.
We zoom in on that map as special effects render it both etched in ink and lifelike. Do that sentence again.
Wow. What? Welcome back to season 5. No, welcome back to Season 6.
We zoom in on that map as special effects render it both etched in ink and lifelike. I wrote that to fuck myself up.
Eric Vanon says another option is to take a low-level character. Eric Vanon says it also you missed. Also, you get a quick.
Fight time!